Hey
Hey
Fabricators,
fabricators, welcome to the place where we like to talk about all things Microsoft Fabric.
and don't forget to like and subscribe if you are new here to keep up to date with news and any other content videos that we release. It really helps us out as well.
So it is time for our regular Fab Five News Round-Up. Now this is the news roundup for June. You might be asking yourselves, what happened to the May News Roundup? Because we haven't done one of those. Well, it turns out Microsoft didn't actually release the May news. Normally they release it kind of like a little bit, sort of May's news probably normally gets released around the beginning of June. And the release dates have just been getting later and later and later to the point where I think Microsoft has decided to restart. So they released the June feature summary in June. And so that's where we are. There is no May. Right, all of that aside, let's get started.
Yeah.
So at number 5, a bit of a cheap entry because this isn't really a single feature, but I'm going to headline this GA all the things. So GA, general availability of things. I personally have had a kind of a soundbite that I've used an awful lot with Microsoft that I wish they would stop starting things and start finishing things. And it feels like they're finally heeding that advice. So in terms of feature summary this month, between both Fabric and Power BI, there were 18 items that moved into a GA status, which seemed seemed a lot compared to usual. So you've got things like some of the Git integration features are now in general availability. Data agents in Microsoft 365 Copilot has gone into general availability. Some CDC with SQL estates for copy jobs has gone into general availability. Things like the Power BI shape map, things like the Power BI card visual hover states, lots and lots and lots of little things, possibly no real sort of headline grabbers in terms of the big feature that we've all been waiting for GA announcement for, but it just feels good to kind of get some of those things off the whip list and into the actual completed list. So yeah, any thoughts on that, Craig?
Yeah, I mean, nothing really, like you say, massive that was jumping out. And weirdly, see, when you actually have a look at all the announcements coming through in June, there's like almost all of them are showing up as preview. So like lots of new preview features and things like that getting mentioned. There's very few that are just like, oh, this functionality or this change. It's all like, okay, there's this as preview, there's this as preview. And I think part of that's probably just they're tagging things a little bit better or cleanly with the announcements. But yeah, lots of interesting stuff. Okay, so coming in at number 4 is the storage tiers and lifecycle management. So this is one that this landed like the exact same day that I spoke to a customer about it, and I was like, look, you can do this in ADLS, you can do this in storage, where we can take our data and move it down to cheaper storage levels as we're not using it. It's a little bit more expensive, or it costs you money to actually retrieve the data, but you can't do that in Fabric. So we're going to need to lean on like ADLS storage for that. Lo and behold, literally like the same day it was announced. So thanks for making me look like an idiot. But going into that feature, it's actually really good, and it's great to see that this is just part of Fabric now. So the ability to take your data and say, hey, I'm not using this anymore, or I'm not using this as often, and I can drop that down into cheaper storage. Now, it works the exact same way as the ADLS function works, so we can base that on the created date, the last modified, and last accessed. There was a few scenarios I've seen come up in the past where it's like, okay, if we're basing this on like last modified or last accessed, if I access something in a lower tier, that's going to bring it up, and is it going to stay, or is it going to drop back down into that previous tier if I based it on the creation date and things like that. So there's a few nuances that you just need to dig into the documentation about. One of the things that I wanted to jump out, or I wanted to point out for everybody, is be very careful with this if you have Delta tables and you're working with the Delta file format, which is what most of your tables and everything are going to be stored down on, or most of the data that you're working with is going to be stored down in Fabric. This is probably really good for where you're just landing data in its original file format. But be careful when you're using Delta tables, because underneath you might have older records that you've not vacuumed up, but those files will still be relevant to the transaction log under that Delta table. So if you go and start archiving things off to cheaper storage, when that Delta table is accessed, it's going to pull out those files back out, and it's either going to cost you money or the table's going to throw up errors because it can't actually find those files. So I need to dig into that, see how that actually works in Fabric, see if I can recreate some of those scenarios, but something to definitely be aware of with that feature. Any thoughts from you on this, Johnny? Have you played about with it yet? Have you seen it?
Yeah, I mean, played about with it now, but yeah, again, sort of welcome addition in terms of functionality. Definitely a feature that I've also spoken to with customers in the past, and something that I'm used to being able to apply in good old vanilla Azure Data Lake storage. So yeah, happy to see that in Fabric now as well.
Good.
So at number 3, we have got the extended lineage in materialized lake views, and I've also kind of like crowbarred in a second feature under one heading here in terms of the fact there is now a data factory task for refreshing materialized lake views as well. So yeah, think I've spoken about it before. I'm a big fan of materialized lake views, or MLVs, I think is kind of like the common abbreviation for that now. I really like this kind of like declarative style in terms of creating your transformations and being able to do that, especially with SQL. One of the limitations in the sort of earlier iterations of this was the fact that your materialized lake views were kind of contained, they were contained within the boundaries of a single lake house. And now you can span multiple lake houses. So if you wanted to have some separation in terms of lake houses, in terms of some of your entities, maybe you've got different lake houses for different domains, but then you've got some use cases where you need to be able to mash those two things together. You've now got the availability to do that. There's various different configs you can do for the refresh as well, so that if you want to basically chain that dependency and keep that kind of like lake house isolation, you can do, or you can configure it to go beyond the lake house if you've got those sort of more sort of chained and more complex DAGs as well. So big fan of that extra functionality, and then also the fact now that you've got a data factory task, so that for the triggering of those MLVs to be refreshed. Previously, I'd always done a notebook to trigger those refreshes, and then called a notebook task from Data Factory, but now Data Factory is going to have a native task to do it. So yeah, any thoughts from you, Craig?
Yeah, so at least you've got the option if you're doing that as part of a pipeline, or if you've got like notebooks and you're working entirely in like PySpark or something like that, you can do it from there as well. And yeah, it's good. It's welcome. That specific kind of feature, the extended lineage, is certainly really good, and you've got that flexibility to say whether you're wanting to do the refresh with that lineage or not. I think the lineage thing is still a little bit just not well established enough in there, and like certainly you've got purview as a component as well that comes into the whole lineage piece, and it would just be really nice if we could just see like a consistent kind of view and a consistent approach to this across, whether they're using purview or you're using just Fabric, for example. If there was an easier way to approach that, but I mean that might be a pipe dream, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I mean, I guess from a like even the name of this feature, to be fair, I think potentially conflates some concepts as well. Like this is more really about dependencies as opposed to actual lineage. So why they've called it just kind of like, yeah. But yeah, I've not even considered the actual lineage perspective from an auditability perspective as well. I was more sort of thinking more about the DAG elements too. So
yeah, exactly.
Nothing else to dig into too.
And at number 2 is enhanced metadata sync for SQL endpoints. So this is one that kind of catches people out early on, the kind of thing that you're just kind of expecting. You make changes to tables and you expect that metadata to then change on your SQL endpoint. From a customer or from a user perspective, it should just be the same thing, but under the hood there's a lot more complexity there. You've got your SQL endpoint that is separate from those tables and the metadata stored in your Delta tables. So this is an enhanced metadata sync that's been announced. This is also in preview. Microsoft are saying that they will turn this around in 30 seconds, and that is an SLO, which I actually had to look up. So I know what an SLA is, a service level agreement. This is a service level objective, which I assume is just we'll try our hardest to make it for 30 seconds, but you can't hold us to account on this. So this is a workspace setting for you to enable it, but one of the interesting things, I haven't been able to pin down any exact wording on it, but everything that you read in the documentation and the announcement mentions specifically that this is for new SQL endpoints. So if I bring the announcement up, it kind of talks about it here, and it talks about new or existing workspaces, but it is also for new SQL endpoints here. So that's just something to bear in mind. Again, I've not had a chance to test this out, so the news has not long dropped. So it'll be interesting to see if we can apply this to existing SQL endpoints, if that's something that will be available when it comes out of preview. Don't really know. One other thing as well, and this sounds like it's going to warrant its own video for everything that doesn't work when you're using workspace private links. This is also included, so we can't do the new enhanced metadata sync if you have workspace private link enabled. So that's something to bear in mind. What do you think, Johnny? Good news?
Yeah, I mean, this definitely kind of goes into the that category of stuff that why didn't it work from day one? You know, it's like I definitely was one of those people that got caught out by the fact that that sync wasn't happening, and I was like, oh, that's weird. Have I done something wrong with my pipeline? It's like, oh, it's the metadata sync. Obviously, there's the API that you can trigger that can force that sync for you, and there's now also a data factory task that can force that sync too. But I would expect it to just work. So this feels like a step in the right direction. Again, as you say, it sounds like there's going to be some limitations with it, and that kind of feels like a proper read the small print moment when it's sort of, oh, this will only be for new SQL endpoints. Because I would imagine if you've got a large Fabric estate, to have to basically recreate all those SQL endpoints from scratch isn't going to be the best thing in the world. But yeah, we're moving in the right direction. Hopefully we'll get to the point where this does all work just the way that you intuitively think it would do. So at number 1 is Rayfin. Like, I kind of feel like we cannot escape talking about Rayfin. It has been like the toast of certainly my LinkedIn feed anyway. So kind of, I guess this sort of, again, falls into that category of various different pieces of terminology getting slightly conflated, because some people will talk about Rayfin. Some people will talk about the heading here being database apps. So Rayfin is effectively the software development kit that allows you to almost build that app just through prompt engineering. So you can give it some prompts and it will spin up an app for you really, really, really quickly and easily, including provisioning all of the back end for supporting that app as well. So that is being backed by Fabric SQL databases is the way that's going. And yeah, this sort of Rayfin gives the ability for people to just describe what they want, and then ultimately it builds it for them. Now, there's a lot of excitement out there in the community. Some of the content that people have been creating with these kind of effectively vibe coded apps is pretty staggering, you know. So there's people sort of talking about, is this potentially going to be a replacement for Power BI? Because rather than building a semantic model and doing a whole drag and drop and, you know, getting your report beautifully structured, just tell it and Rayfin will build you an app, and it gives you much more flexibility because you're not just confined by the things like the visualizations that are just available in Power BI. It's like basically fully custom building actually a web app with a Fabric database that backs it. You can still suck in things like data from your semantic models or from other parts of your Fabric estate, and then present that as some nice dashboards in a more of a sort of web app type interface. So lots of excitement. I think for me, it's definitely comes with lots of warnings. I think the fact that it's Fabric database backed, and kind of they have kind of so far historically been pretty well known for being quite CU hungry, so they can use up quite a lot of consumption. And you've also got to think about that maintainability. If you build a Power BI report and then you leave the business, any other Power BI developer can probably come in and then figure out how that's all hung together. Whereas this is a bit more kind of, it's going to generate your code in the background, but then being able to maintain that if you need to make changes further down the line. I think there's a health one in there as well. So I think there's probably some really great use cases for this. But I don't think it's going to be like, basically don't turn this into the hammer that makes you think that everything's a nail. Your thoughts?
Yeah, definitely. Like, completely echo what you're saying there. And it's like, it's a symptom of AI as a wrapper for everything. And then every single kind of component that's AI related inside it is everyone just taking a look at this and going, oh, this is a solution to all of these different issues and things like that. And there's definitely use cases for this. Like, there's some guidance here when to use Fabric apps. It's ideal for these kind of things. And Microsoft are even saying, fair enough, it's in fairly small print buried in the documentation, but they say specifically there, like, applications requiring complex multi-step transactions or stored procedures. Like, people are going to try and build these for those kind of use cases anyway. And I think that's the big kind of thing that we need to go through when it comes to AI, is understanding where it's useful and where it's not. So the functionality sounds great. I think, like, I'd like to see some actual real world scenarios and like some problems that it's actually solving, and not just solutions to problems that don't already exist. I feel like it's another symptom of Satya's copilot for everything. Rather than fixing some of the more basic things that are outstanding in Fabric. But hey, I don't want to end everything with a negative tone.
Yeah, totally. I mean, Kurt Bueller over on Tabular Editor website has done a really good article which walks through some of this, so I'm going to chuck that up and share that if I can find the right button. Here we go. Yeah, so this is Kurt's article on the subject, and he goes into great detail, and it shows you some of the things you can do. These are kind of the types of visuals that aren't necessarily easy to recreate natively in something like Power BI.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a different beast. It is basically use with caution. And I think this data app, which is kind of almost like a subcategory of the Fabric apps, is it's worthwhile looking at, but also use with caution. That covers our Fab Five for June. Any honourable mentions you want to dig into, Greg?
Yeah, so there was a couple of things I wanted to highlight. Data Days events. So you've mentioned this one on LinkedIn, Johnny, but do you want to give us a bit more detail around it? It's something that's already kicked off, so we're maybe a week or so late on this one.
Yeah, it's started around about the beginning, sort of mid-June-ish. So yeah, as of recording right now, I think we're a week into it. Best way to describe it, I mean, in terms of the things that I've provided, it's almost like the kind of things you'd expect to see at a data conference, except for it's fully virtual, it's free, and it's spread over 60 days. So it's not a case of turning up for a day and it's quite an intense day. It's 60 days of sessions that you can attend and pick and choose and fit them in here and there between various bits and bobs as well. Some really good benefits there for you as well. The opportunity to get the vouchers to get some free certificates. There's various study groups going on as well, and a couple of different challenges. I think the Power BI World Championships has kind of been rolled into this event as well. So there's the opportunity to start working in the Data Viz World Championships too. Yes, totally. So kind of almost build itself as like a bit of a virtual conference that spread over 60 days. I almost think like I want to use like a festival of data. It feels like more like a festival than
Yeah, yeah. I've done something like that in the past with Data Scotland, where it's like releasing videos. It was during COVID, releasing videos of sessions over the course of like 1 or 2 weeks, rather than having like you all have to be here for an event in person.
Yeah.
But yeah, interesting, worth checking out. The other one was storage reporting, so kind of linked to that kind of storage tiers and lifecycle management. You can now get full reports on your storage within OneLake, and I think that's tied to workspaces. And it gives you the ability to basically see where you're spending that money. And I think that's the good kind of like shock of like, oh, okay, this is where I'm spending it. Everything's in hot here. This is when I'm going to start to think about the lifecycle management components, and how I want to basically make things cheaper.
Yeah, there's always been like an element of frustration in terms of the visibility of the costs of your storage feeling a little bit opaque. So yeah, again, this is just another tick in the box for transparency and like observability and helping you manage things better.
Yeah, definitely. The last one was Alter Column, which is in this month's updates, and my colleague Linda had spoke about this one on LinkedIn as well. It's a little bit of this is great. It's great that it's finally here with the data warehouse functionality. We can now alter the column. Should have been there already. This needs to be like the swear jar. We put a pound in that comes up. But also not all the functionality is there. Some of it doesn't really work the way you would fully expect from a relational database perspective. So have a look at the details in that one. Check it out. Hopefully it's something that's useful for you. And yeah, that was it for me in terms of the other additional things that I want to mention. There was quite a lot in there, but nothing again that was really like jumping out as like super interesting for me. What about you?
Yeah, no, I think the things that I'm most interested in is the stuff we've managed to call out, and yeah, some good little honourable mentions there as well. So yeah, that brings us to the end of this month's Fab Five. Thanks once again for watching, and as Craig already mentioned, don't forget to like and subscribe. And yeah, we'll catch you next time.
See you next time.